Marshall in the middle.
Here I am with Ranger Nate.
Hey.
Look at that. Look at that. We're on a special edition. He texted me. He's like, hey, let's talk about last night. And I'm like, you want to go on camera and do it? And he's like, yeah, give me a minute. And so here we are. What's going on, man?
Oh, not much, man. Just chilling out. I got Staff Sergeant Krause's book just showed up this afternoon. So I just got to the introduction of it, but I'm looking forward to reading. I know you already read it, and I saw your interview with him like we talked about yesterday morning. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to read. But, yeah. So, yeah, it's good to be back with you and your listeners, man. We can do this every day if you want to. Don't matter.
I love it. I love it. So what's firing you up today? Tell me about it.
Oh, not much, man. Just I got your video you sent me about an hour ago, and I watched the whole thing in its entirety, and just wanted to see if you want to discuss it. You know,
yeah, tell me about it.
That's a great subject. Well, this individual on YouTube made a live YouTube video and claimed that he was pulled over and was ticketed for not having a sticker on his license plate. And so his complaint was he was talking about how law enforcement itself as a whole is declining with the public due to our U.S. government. And I agree to a certain extent on that. But he said that he's even got family members that were law enforcement, cousins, friends that are law enforcement. If I can remember correctly, I think he said his dad or grandfather, or uncle, or somebody was a cop too. And but he just he's got this disdain for police officers. And what he described when he said a broad sense of government as a whole, what he was describing and what I gathered from it, from my own opinion, was he was strictly talking about. I shouldn't say strictly on his point of view, but my point of view, what he was talking about was directly coming from what every Democrat, I'll say 98% of the Democrats in the House of Representatives and the United States Senate, what they've been spewing pretty much ever since Obama was in office. I think it goes back. I know it goes back all the way to Obama's first term. You know, where and I can't remember the individual's name, but they had the hands up, don't shoot, which was a false narrative. It was proven to be a false narrative. But then, you went into almost like an anti-law enforcement across from the executive branch of government and the legislative branch of government went down into the media. The media picked it up, and it just blasted across our country. And here we are today, 14, 15, 16 years later, and we're at the point where we are right now. So what's your take on it, man?
So I totally get where you're coming from and agree with what you're saying. All right, for sure, that there's no matter what, both sides use anything they can do to accelerate their point politically. And so in the case of vilifying the law enforcement, a couple things happen. One, in a way, bad law enforcement vilified themselves, unfortunately. And once that's done, then the left has something to grab a hold of that causes some issues, right? We all, like, I had a soldier in my squad that couldn't do right. He couldn't do right. He just couldn't do right. And sometimes you end up with an employee that just can't do right. And you don't know how he got there. You don't quite know, but all of a sudden you're babysitting them more than you're a teammate of them. And so in certain cases, there are law enforcement professionals that are like that all of a sudden they find themselves as cops and they're just like can't do right. They can't get their stuff on, and they can't get dressed in the right uniforms, but somehow they make it through. And then you get these law enforcement guys that think that because they suddenly have a badge, like I had squad leaders of mine in Korea that came to me and said, "First Sergeant, when do I get to be the courtesy patrol guy? Right? When do I get to go put the on and go down range and be the courtesy patrol?" And I looked at them and I said, "You don't ever get to be a guy, because you'll have the whole bill rounded up. Okay, I know you.
Yeah.
You'll have them rounded up, man. Every underage drinker in 7 miles will have been caught. Okay, and
Right.
right, because
Yeah, I was over there. Absolutely, man. I know exactly what you're talking about.
yeah, and so that's some of the we were driving down the road the other day, and my little friend Maddie Grace, she's 13 years old, and we were talking about being a law enforcement professional, and I said, who scares me the worst? I said, the people that they make parking enforcement traffic citations, people that have the little parking meter little carts. Those are people messed up in the head. Oh, look, is he over the line? Oh, he's over the line. He's over the line. And they write you a little ticket. They're all excited. It's really, you got to be a special kind of person.
He's over a minute. Better.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Better slap a ticket on him. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. And I was about to mention that too, man. That you hit it right on the head. Having soldiers like that, we all had them. You get every company in the Army, Marine Corps, Navy, whatever, Air Force. Every company, every element of 130 to 150 soldiers or military members, you're going to have one or two in every time period that you've served. You're going to see at least one or two of those soldiers, might not be underneath your chain of command or your NCO support channel, but you're going to see one or two of those soldiers get chaptered out of the Army for something. Either it be drugs, or it would be, alcohol-related incidences, violence, you name it, man. Criminals, thieving, stealing, I had a soldier of mine when I was a platoon sergeant, man, in at Fort Bragg that got chaptered out, and I actually tried to fight for the kid, but he had one too many at the time, too many incidences with the booze, and I ain't judging nobody, man. I'm the last one. I'm the last one to be judging anybody, but I'm just saying he had one too many incidences, and he was a good soldier, man. Went to Iraq, Afghanistan. This dude was a stud, Ranger qualified, E4. He could have been an E6 by then, but he kept getting in trouble. But I'll be damned if I had to sit there in the battalion conference room and watch his court martial. And I watched him get chaptered out of the military, man. But anyways, it's like the cops. So going back to the subject on that, like the Floyd incident, man. I think that was Minneapolis also, if I'm not, because it's hard for me to remember the cities, But I think that was Minneapolis with the Floyd situation. And I tell you what, man, I watched the whole thing. I watched the entire video on it. I looked at my wife. I said, that cop's going to he's going to go to prison for murder. I said, that cop just didn't excessively use abuse. He killed that kid. And I said, he's going to go to prison. Not only is he going to be kicked off the police squad or kicked out of his police unit and banned from being a police officer, I said, he's going to prison, and he's going to go to prison for a long time. And I only watched that one time, man, and I was like, yeah, he killed that kid. Now I understand the Floyd thing, people argue, well, he was already a criminal, this and that. He was on drugs, blah, 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 blah. Hey, man, that's neither here nor there. You can't kill somebody. That was excessive. He put his knee and choked him to death, man. Whatever drugs he was on, you killed him. So I just want everybody to understand out there, our listeners and everything. I'm not just, for any cop doing anything, man. And we use the comparison of soldiers, man, in the military and our experiences with them. Yeah, you're going to get one or two bad apples, but that doesn't make all 140 or 150 individuals in your company bad soldiers. You know what I'm saying? That's the narrative that I wish a lot on the left. Like I said, 98% of the left, particularly in Washington D.C. and local elected officials, you know, mayors in some of these blue cities and blue states. I wish they would just stop it, man. We don't have a nation of laws, like you know, Trump always continues to remind us. If we don't have a country of laws, and we don't have a country of borders, we don't have a country. So it's what it is, man. You know.
One of the wild things about the military is that there was one particular branch or job title that everybody hated and was scared of, and that was the MPs, right? Nobody liked the MPs. And that's happened in our society also, right? Because we have taken all the police cars and we have made them, almost all of them, unmarked. We have hidden them behind trees and behind billboards for the past 70 years, I guess now, trying to catch people that are going too fast or being reckless, to the point where, you know, even my grandkids to this day, when we're driving down the road, are pointing out the cops, right? That's the bad guy. That's right. The bad guy, right? Watch out, slow down. That's the bad guy. And it's like, when you label somebody the bad guy so long, it all of a sudden they become the bad guy, whether you think it or not, consciously. When you see them walk into the door, I watch people's eyes instinctively go to that gun, instinctively go to look at that gun, and just look at it. People just look at that gun, and there's nothing wrong with it until you start deciding, like the guy that Chad in the 3 of 7 video talks about. All of a sudden they become the enemy. All of a sudden you become not to trust them. All of a sudden they pull you over for something you know is just bull crap, you know, and give you a ticket, and that law enforcement professional becomes somebody that's not worried about safety at all. As a matter of fact, they're making making it more unsafe by making a scene on the side of the road. And they get out and go up there on both sides of the truck, like this guy's sticker. But they've all driven themselves there. We've driven us as a society that it's just normal to just pull somebody while they're driving down the road. And if you think about it, it's gone to back to the wild, wild west, where we have state-sponsored tariffs on the side of the highway, because they pick and choose who they pull over for speeding and stuff. Everybody's doing 90 mile an hour down I-75 in Florida, almost, I think, but nobody ever gets pulled over except for the people they want to. So anyway, what Chad's talking about from my perspective is we have to find a way to begin to put our trust into our government, that they're not taking crazy tariffs and things that are just, you know, there's little towns around me in Alabama that are known speed traps. You know, don't you dare drive through them, man.
Oh, yeah. We all have them. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a way that city council says that they're going to,
where every cop is sitting at. Yeah.
Yeah, but one of the ways they say is we'll keep people out of our city, right? If it's a speed trap, then nobody will come through here, because they have those kinds of towns around here that doesn't want nobody to come through there. And then we have towns where the little old ladies of the church run things, and there ain't no liquor within 30 miles. There ain't no no speed limit in the whole county more than 35 miles an hour and all that kind of stuff. And they try to enforce it, you know?
Going back to Chad, that's his name, Chad, from the video? Okay.
Right.
So Chad's situation, I thought about it before I even bothered to text you and ask you if you wanted to come on and talk about this. I thought about it for about a second, man, and I was like, the sticker's irrelevant. What the reality of it was, in my opinion, and probably I'm 99% right on this. I mean, it's not about the sticker. It's about this individual was driving a vehicle that was unregistered. And the reason I say that is because most cops that I've been encountered to, before they even get out of their vehicle and approach you and tell you to roll down your window and all that stuff, they're already checking your license plates. You know, they're already seeing what's the deal with this vehicle. And the sticker not being on the plate was just an eye opener for them. It's almost like a headlight out. Now you're giving them a reason to pull you over. They probably ran his plates before they even stepped out and walked up to the vehicle, and figured that it just simply wasn't registered within the state or county. So that's against the law. I mean, I'm going to get ticketed for it. You'd get ticketed for it. Before they even run your license, your driver's license, they're going to figure out whether or not you're driving a registered or unregistered vehicle, whether it's legal or illegal. And like I said, man, that's just, it'd be like almost common sense, because everybody ever wonders why when you get pulled over, sometimes it might even take 10 minutes for the cop to come out of his vehicle to even approach you, for you to even or roll down your window. You know what I'm saying? What they're doing is they're running your plates. First they want to know if you're in a stolen vehicle, if that vehicle's involved with a crime. And I'm not a cop or anything, but looking at it from a standpoint of being in situations in the military where, you know, anything can happen in a split moment, you know, going into a house, you know, taking bad guys out of a house or something to that effect, or, you know, the lethality that could be or could not be involved. You know, you think about that, man, and it only takes 2 seconds before you have to make a decision, and it could be bad. But like I said, man, there's situations out there you ain't going to cover up. With that Floyd incident, I'm sorry, he was guilty. With I don't know. We're going to find out, though, what's going to happen with them 2 cops, them 2 ICE agents down there or over there in Minneapolis. We're going to find out what's going to happen, because that's under investigation too. A lot of people say, well, it's under the current administration's, you know, FBI, you know, that's going to be investigating it. So they're probably going to walk. I've heard people say, well, you know, let's see what happens. The big one's going to be the what's his name? Pedrick guy, the second guy that got killed, the male that got shot right there on the street, right there on the sidewalk. That's going to be the big one that we're all going to find out about. That could be neither here nor there, because although they say he had live, the officer had live video on this situation, at least 1 or 2 of them did. We haven't seen it yet. So, and maybe we shouldn't until the investigation's over with, you know. Everybody's so quick to find out stuff, but there is still legalities involved with investigations that we're not supposed to, you know.
It is. It's neat to think about what may transpire out of all that stuff. I really think that those law enforcement professionals will be vindicated when it all comes around. Look, when you start playing around with your car and driving it at cops, and once you take a gun to a peaceful protest and start tussling with cops, okay, man. You know, people say FAFO. Guess what? I don't know. How one of my former soldiers reached out to me and said, yeah, but what about that guy's right to be there? And I'm like, that's fine. He can have that right. I said, I called him by name. I said, you pack up your daughter and y'all go load up a picnic, and you take your pistol and you go down there and hang out on that street corner, and you do it. If they have the right to do it, then you pack. He goes, I'd never do that. Well, there you go then. Okay. No crap. Not only can you do it, okay, but I get it. But if you go down there and you pick a fight, you're outgunned immediately forever.
Absolutely. That was my point with the whole thing when it first happened. I'm like, okay, so he had a licensed concealed carrier's permit. However, like we used to say in the Army, remember that? It used to kind of piss me off. However, comma. But anyways, however, comma, he didn't he didn't have his ID on him, man. He didn't have his permit. You gotta have your license along with your driver's license or a photo ID to prove you are the person who's allowed to carry this weapon. So automatically that made him illegal to carry the firearm. But like you said, man, you take it to that environment, you're playing with fire. I mean, who would do such a thing in their right mind? Because you're like you said, you're playing with FAFO, bro.
So here's exactly what Chad's talking about. Okay. Chad, if you don't know who he is, he's a former Navy SEAL, and he has a YouTube channel. He's a great guy. He's got great insights on things, in my opinion. But the long and short of it, he is saying, yeah, you can do these things, man. But the issue is that neither side seems to trust law enforcement anymore. Nobody seems to feel as if law enforcement is actually looking out for their interests. They're looking out for, at every level, some bigger interest than we kind of understand about. Like, I'll give you an example that hit home to me. A sheriff in a local Florida county to where I was raised, one where I had a big body armor contract with the whole sheriff's department. They were all wearing my body armor. I was in there all the time. The guy that is now in jail grew up with my wife. They lived in the same neighborhood on the same block. You know, their moms went to the bake sale together. And now he is behind bars for gambling corruption. He had a stake in a bunch of gambling, a bunch of slot machine houses and stuff. And he was helping launder the money. And I mean, they got them locked up under the jail. They were right in the middle of it, and they were giving him campaign contributions and doing it was really, and they built the case from inside, ground up, with an undercover agent and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So nobody trusts our government anymore. Like I don't trust my local town. My local town, I'm not happy with their police force and the things that they do and where they sit and what they're trying to do. They have this. We're on a major artery that comes from Georgia to Panama City Beach, and from Panama City to Atlanta, Georgia. I mean,
a lot of drugs get trafficked through.
Well, a lot of stuff gets driven through there, but they have a partnership with the federal folks that gets tipped off sometimes when some things are coming through here, and because they have a friendly relationship, they share that money. They do a way to share the money. So they will look. This place is known for, if you're driving through to Panama City, boy, you better not be half stepping, because you'll get pulled over and it'll be a mess. And they just have them sitting out there and just looking and fishing sometimes. But that's one of the things that makes our cops, not our friends. When our grandkids are pointing out the cops to us when we crest the ridge, then we're doing the wrong thing with our youth.
That could be also not with your situation, but overall, you got to also look at the other end of it. And that's why I love having these friendly debates, man. Like I was telling you yesterday morning, social media, man, you can't have these social debates or these professional debates, man, with anybody. They start calling you every name in the book. But anyways, man, you go back. Parents are teaching a lot of these kids too that cops are just bad people. They're out to hurt you. They're out to do you wrong. They're out to be looking for you. And I understand that. I do get it. There's some times where I'll be looking for the cop where I think they might be sitting, and hell, I might get into a car wreck, man. I might hit the car in front of me on Interstate 75, like you said, just mentioned 75. 75 for me, man, is literally about 3/4 down the road from where I live right now in Northwest Ohio. But on the good spectrum of it, Will, about the last ticket I got about 4 or 5 years ago, right around COVID time period or right before, whatever, man. I was hungry and I was going to go to Arby's, man, and get me a sandwich and some French fries there. And I came over the hill, man, and I was in a 35. I was going about 55, and I wasn't paying attention, man. Bam, there he was. Local cop too, man. Blue lights went on. I'm like, oh, I'm done, man. And I knew how fast I was going too. I wasn't even paying attention. And he came up to the car, he's like, well, you know why I pulled you over? I said, yeah, I was going too fast, officer. He said, all right. He was a young kid too, brand new cop. So I was kind of worried because I live in a very small town, man. We already know all the cops, and a lot of the sheriffs too in our county. And this young boy, man, he's like, hey, here's my driver's license. I gave it to him and all this. So that boy took him back to his car there, and he came back. Well, I'm sure like yours, my driver's license has on there automatically that retired military, retired master sergeant, United States Army, whatever. He came back and actually apologized to me. He goes, man, I really apologize for pulling you over and having to do this. I said, all right, I'll take the ticket, officer. I said, I know I was wrong, man. I know I was hauling ass. And he said, well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do, though. He goes, I have to give you something because I got the camera on your vehicle. And I got a monitor on my camera on my vehicle, man. I know I can't get away with not giving you a ticket. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to downgrade it from speeding, because that was at that point it was almost a misdemeanor. I think if you go 20 over or something like that, then you got to go to the courthouse and talk to a judge or somebody, So he was like, all right, man. He goes, I'm going to downgrade it to not wearing a seatbelt. And he said, you can just take this uptown and pay it, whenever you can, within a week or so or whatever. He goes, but you don't have to go to court, and this ain't going to be on your driver's record. This is just not wearing a seatbelt. So, it kind of goes both ways, man. But it's like, like you said, who you're dealing with. But now let me ask you this now. That could be even considered bias. What do you think? What if I didn't have military on my record? Because for all I know, that young boy that pulled me over, that young cop, he might have spent 4 years in the Army or Marine Corps or something. You know what I'm saying? So he's got a sympathy, and a lot of them do, especially around here. A lot of them do have prior military time.
Yeah. So let's talk about it. Okay. So you're a young person on the police force, and your sergeant said, look, you got to issue 10 tickets this week. Okay. That's part of your, not a quota, but that's just part of your mission. Part of, you need to do this as part of your training. So make sure that happens. So all of a sudden here you appear, you're obviously going too fast or whatever. And part of his training is that because you admitted it and everything, but he still needed that quota, he probably gave you the lowest whatever he could have got, but eventually hopefully they won't have a quota, but especially the younger cops, they give them things like that. They make them go through that, give a ticket. So they'll have, people mad at them and stuff, cause it's valuable to have that happen.
Yeah. Absolutely. And going back to that cop where he was sitting at, he's always there. Everybody knows where he's always sitting there. And then now I have to, what you just said, now I have to realize, well, why was he sitting there? And I just realized it. I already knew it, but the apartment complex where he's sitting at was right across, or where he was sitting at was right across the street from a apartment complex in this little small town that I live in, where there's a big drug problem. A lot of heroin stuff go in and out of there. A lot of riffraff go in and out of this little apartment complex right there. So there's always a cop sitting there. Myself, I should have been self-aware I should have been self-aware when I came over the railroad tracks over that hill that I needed to slow down, man, because I know the speed limit goes down because that's a residential area right there. But so I'll take the blame for that because I was like, what are you doing? You know, what are you going 20 miles an hour over? You know, there's a cop always sitting there, you know. But anyways, so that was a good little. That was the last ticket I ever got. I think it was, like I said, I think it was right before COVID. So it's been a while, been a minute or two, but yeah.
I'm trying to think about the last ticket I got. I think the last ticket I got was I got 2 tickets in one day. We were my family and another family were meeting at the Quad A convention in Dallas, the Army Aviation Association or whatever they call it. And so we were driving from El Paso to Dallas, and I'll be damned, I got 2 dang tickets, like 2. Like I'm driving, you know, I'm just on cruise control doing whatever, and all of a sudden, but that was 2000, sometime in the 2000s. So it's been that long since I've gotten a ticket. Yeah. Yeah.
I got one. Oh, go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
So I think that our law enforcement and our government is not broken such that we would have that much to repair. But we have to realize that, look, we're a nation that has laws and that has decorum, and that you can't like I watched somebody that was supposedly peaceful protesting the other day, and they were throwing baloney at the cars as they drove by, and that's peaceful protest. No, throwing baloney like frisbees at these FBI cars or you know, that's kind of, I don't know. I just,
is that there? Huh?
No, that was in Minneapolis or somewhere.
Oh, you saw it on TV?
Yeah. No, nobody's protesting around here. Ain't nobody protesting stuff I mean, they had like a No Kings protest downtown at our local town, and like, I don't know, like 40 something people showed up, maybe 50 something people showed up, and we did a poll around the area. We did this special test. We looked for testosterone. We couldn't find any. There was 0 testosterone anywhere to be had. The highest level testosterone looked more like a man than I did, but it was a girl. Yeah. So, it's wild. It's wild, the group of people that is, you know, pushing for the stuff that's going on, you know?
Well, now what's your opinion, Will, about this? And this has been said for years. So I got 2 opinions on this. That a lot of these protesters are so organized and being funded by, you know, hardcore radical left billionaires and stuff like that, which I agree and believe with. But at the same time, what the hell is how come our FBI can't figure this out and go after the people that are funding these people? This has been being said ever since Obama. They've been saying that these protesters and rioters, I should say, you know, summer of 2020, the summer of love and all that. This is organized and it's being paid for and all the signs match. I get it. I agree with you. Why is it taking our FBI so long to figure out how they can get a hold of these people that are creating this and funding it? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, look. So
kill the money.
Right. So one of the wildest things about that, right, is they may have a 90% solution on who is at fault and who can do it or whatever. They may know exactly who it is, but that 5% or 10% to close the gap, to get the prosecution done, to do some type of indictment or any of that stuff, there's a lot of work that causes them to all of a sudden to have to really put in some more work. And so doesn't come timely. It takes a while. And the news cycle goes so fast that we sit around and we're like, dang, can't we fight this corruption and get some people in jail? And when they start, Pam Bondi said it the other day, and she said if we start prosecuting all these people that are involved, then our whole system will shut down, right? And the guy that was doing commentary on it said, well, hell yeah, shut the whole system down. We don't want child molesters and all these bad people anywhere near our government. And I agree with that. The thing that like Pam is talking about though, is that it would take every prosecutor we have, every lawyer that we have that would have to start working on all these cases, that suddenly they would have such a massive caseload that they wouldn't even know how to start fitting it in. It's when you get to corruption that's of such a large scope, like when you see what's happening in Minnesota, where thousands of dollars, millions of dollars are being siphoned off and used, and obviously it's nefarious. It's obviously nefarious.
Yeah, the fraud.
The issue though is that each of those people are going to say, look, I used a legal program and I filled out a government form and somebody signed it and somebody stamped it and they sent it up. And they're going to say at every level, everybody in that bureaucracy, they were just doing this program that we voted in. And when you get it all back, they'll be like, well, there ain't too many people to go to jail because they did it. You can do these backdoor little bills and all these little things that you can do that are like what we would call them in software are bugs or backdoors if we were doing software. But they're making bills now that have these provisions that says, see table 7 for further instructions. And then you go all the way to the back and you find table 7. And all of a sudden it's not like some clarification table. It's a whole new bill. And nobody just takes the time to read all that stuff. Nobody does it anymore.
You're right. Absolutely. 100%, man. Quit meowing at me, cat. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I just wish that we'd come to the conclusion on this. Okay, well, every time we have something, this anti-ICE or anti-ICE, but anti-federal law agents and all this and that. But you have to understand, too, and I'm pretty sure everybody already does. It's obvious. They say it right on TV every day. Mayor Fry, Governor Waltz. They come right out and they just say, well, we're not gonna support having our local law enforcement coordinate or cooperate with federal law. I mean, come on, man. And then you got what's her name over there in Virginia that just took over governorship. And she ran as a moderate, and she ran so big time that she's just going to be a moderate and keep everything going the way it is, and all that in Virginia. And then what's the first thing she signs into law? Executive order when she comes in there. Local law enforcement, sheriff departments, city cops, nobody in this state will coordinate with federal law enforcement. That was almost the first executive order she signed, man. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but you know what I'm talking about, the blonde. She just got elected like a month ago, last month or something. January 1st, something like that. But anyways, yeah, so it keeps getting pushed down from the top elected officials, man. I guess the big question, Will, why do these people just keep getting elected? The same people that keep getting elected are the same cities and states where you have just anarchy in the streets, And I'm sure 85 to 90% of the people that live there, they want to be able to let their kids go to the park and play and not get jacked around by a bunch of rioters, pepper spray all over the place and CS gas all over the place. You know, that ain't pleasant. But, you know, we see it every day on TV. I will say Minnesota's calmed down, though, you know, the last 3 weeks ever since Holman got in there. And they're already exfilling out of there, you know. ICEs. They're still going to leave. They're still going to leave feds there because they still have to do their investigations on that $9 or $10 billion fraud situation going on there. You know,
it's tough to be a mayor, a school board member. It's tough to be a local city council person. There's no glory in it anymore. All there is problems, right? No matter what you do, when you stick your head up and say, even in the church, right? Even in the church, when you sit up and say, I'll do this, it becomes a very thankless job, unfortunately.
absolutely.
And so our politicians that are worth the salt are people that have done something else for their life and are doing this only because they seem to be thrust into it at this moment, not because they grew up in the system of politics. And politics now is populism. Politics now is what can you talk your group of people into, except unfortunately at the national level. Once you get out of the state level, you lose. Those politicians get into two big old groups, and that's when it's gone. That's when it's messed up, I think.
Agreed. I agree. I completely agree. That's the problem too. All these laws that seem to make sense. We talked about this a little bit yesterday morning on our show. For the most part, man, well, I can tell you right now, 85% of the country agrees that you must have a voter ID to vote. 71% of Democrats agree that you must have a voter ID to vote. I mean, we could keep going over this day after day after day. It's kind of a repeated, it's common sense. But I'll be damned if you get one side of the party that wants it and the other side is automatically against it. And all it hurts is the American people. You know, it's just, well, Republicans want this, we're going to say no. Oh, Republicans don't want to touch ICE, which is funded till 2029 anyway. We're just going to shut the government down. At least the Homeland Security cabinet. We're going to shut it all down. So there goes your Coast Guard, Secret Service, FEMA. They're not getting paid. TSA at the airports, they're not getting paid. And you know most TSA agents, they're not going to put up with that. They ain't going to show up. It just happened, 4 or 5 months ago? You know, we had the longest government shutdown in U.S. history just a few months ago. And the TSA agents just weren't going to show up. And that's the same thing's going to happen again. They're not going to show up at the airports. So we're going to go, it's a repeated record. Well, they won't give us this, shut down the government. Now, wouldn't that be nice, Will? Wouldn't that be beautiful if somebody stood up for once and came up with a bill? I don't think we'll ever see it, but somebody in the House of Representatives or the Senate came up with a bill and voted on it and passed it that says, if you vote to shut down the government, you also, as a state representative or state senator, you also will not be getting paid. And watch how fast that crap will end, dude.
I've seen it where they have proposed situations, proposed laws that said that the government could no longer be shut down like the way we're doing it, like holding folks hostage. But listen, I do think that when the government is shut down, what that ends up doing is helps us whittle our bloat in the government down. More times it's shut down, the more times people come back to work, or less times they come back to work. And I'm telling you, I look for a leaner workforce. We do not need a huge Department of Education in our federal government. I don't think that we need a huge Department of Health, if I'm honest with you.
We don't.
I don't think that we need some huge environmental protection agency that is. I mean, look at what they did about the red cockaded woodpecker and all those kinds of things. Now, I'm not against the red cockaded woodpecker. That's not what I'm against. But I'm gonna tell you, I really promise you, that them making those areas and the things that they did about keeping us out of them, I'm not so sure that did a bit for the damn woodpeckers. You know, it didn't. It simply they spent money making tags and banning trees and making a big deal out of really nothing. I mean, nothing.
Can I be honest with you on that cockaded woodpecker crap? Because I remember it just as well as you do, bro. I don't think I've ever seen one, and I spent a lot of time in them woods, man. I spent many times in them woods. Both of us have, and I don't think I've ever seen one or even heard one peckering at the trees, man. I don't know. That's just me, man. Maybe I did. I just forgot about it.
So I got a story. So we were at Fort Polk, Louisiana. A bunch of us air defenders that were OCs, JRTC.
JRTC, baby.
And so we had our little walkie-talkies, and we had early warning planned. I mean, we were air defense, and we were going to go dove hunting. So we went out there dove hunting, and we're out in the middle of this big old open field, out in the middle of all kinds of area. And dove hunting is special. You got to have a plug in your gun. You can only have 3 shells or a migratory game bird, that kind of thing. You got to know what you're looking at to know what's a dove and what's some other kind of bird, because if you don't know, you'll end up shooting, some kind of crow or something, whatever. So it's early in the morning. We have our little safety briefing. We give our little thing about, you can only the whole deal, the whole safety brief. You know how I would imagine my soldiers off duty. But we had worked up a 5-paragraph op order because we were going to go do a air defense raid on these doves, and we were soldiers.
Yeah.
So we got out there, we got positioned, and we got our little stools, and we were camouflaged. We had a little walkie-talkies for early warning, and all of a sudden, somebody squawks, blackbirds, 12 o'clock, flying high. There's a big old flock of blackbirds, right? They're bringing way up there, man. And they come flying. They fly over one of the guys down there. Then they fly over Burnley. Then they fly over me, right? I was sitting there watching them, And then all of a sudden they get to my buddy, right? His name is John. He's a SF. Now he's in the SF, or now he's retired. But after this, he went to SF. He stands up. He puts his shotgun up. Pow, 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 pow. He shoots 6 times up into these birds are a mile away. There ain't no way that them pellets are getting up to them birds, right? And he sits back down, and so I end up having to walk over there to him, man. I'm like, John, and they're all in my ear, right, in the headphones. Man, tell that sorry son of a gun, he's he's got to plug the plug in the gun. He's shooting at the blackbirds, all this stuff. So anyway, I got him and got him helped up. So later in the day, John and I were walking along this edge of this woods, and we're waiting for things to jump up. We think it's going to be doves, might fly up. We'll shoot them, right? There's more than just me and John. There's like 5 of us on, but John's right next to me, right? All of a sudden, John calls me on the radio. He's like 3-1, 3-7. I'm like, go ahead. He's like, I think there's one here on this limb right above me. I'm like, well, ground check it, man. Ground check it. Boom! Right? He shoots. So I go walking over there to him. It's a red cockaded woodpecker, dude.
Oh, Lord.
I mean, we like ran.
So let me ask you a question then. With that, they're endangered, and were they a national bird endangered?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was just a North Carolina thing, man.
No, so it was all the military bases all over the nation. But mainly Southeast had to do all this red cockaded woodpecker stuff. Yeah.
Georgia. Yeah, I know Georgia had it. You're right. Georgia. Yeah. North Carolina, South Carolina.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So my buddy John, whose last name will not be presented here,
right,
killed a red cockaded woodpecker, and then we ran.
That's awesome, man.
We ran.
That's actually funny. Can you imagine? Like, I'm just trying to imagine if somebody would have shot a red cockaded woodpecker on a live fire exercise on Fort Bragg. Like, would they shut the range down? I mean, I don't know.
So
I know they would.
I grew up as a Vulcaneer. 3,000 rounds a minute, Gatling gun, 20 Mike, right? Sometimes we would have deer run out on the range when we were shooting. Sometimes, I've been out on the range when we've had deer run across the rifle range before.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but I've never seen any of us have any opportunity to shoot at them or shoot them or anything like that. Yeah.
Right.
I don't know. I'm a deer hunter, but I also don't want to. If I'm in the middle of a military operation, I don't want to shoot something and then not be able to go down range and get it, and all that kind of good stuff. It's I just shot something just to kill it. I'm a killer. Yeah, well, you're a killer, buddy. Good job for you.
Yeah.
That's something. We talked about it before about how some of the soldiers wanted to go jump into Haiti and get their combat stars, and some people were glad they didn't go. There are a group of people that were soldiers with me that had some dream of killing somebody somewhere deep inside. Some of the soldiers, most of us were like, if I got to, I'll kill somebody, but I don't want to, and then of course you have some group of people that are like, I ain't fighting. I'm kind of not fighting. I'm a medic, and that keeps me from it. I'm a clerk, and I'll be in the background, hopefully, or whatever. That doesn't always work, but
yeah, the medics. I don't know, man. When I was a platoon sergeant in Iraq, we had a medic, my platoon medic. He was crazy, man. I was like, he wanted to. So we kind of exhausted our soldiers, man. Like, we were trying to clear this building one night. He's like, come on, Sergeant, you and me. And we'll grab the FO. I said, might as well grab the FO, you, me, we'll grab the engineer too that's with us. I said, we're gonna go clear the last couple rooms ourselves. He pulls out his 9mm, and it was, like I said, though, he was a gung-ho kid, man. I asked him, I said, I don't know why you went medic. How come you didn't go, live in Bravo or something? But yeah, good times. Well, hey, man, this is a good episode. I'm glad you called me, or I'm glad you texted me and told me this, because I think we need to post this. This is good. This has been a good one here, man.
Sounds good.
So I'll be looking forward to looking at it tonight, man.
All right, sounds good. Well, stay on. Don't go nowhere, okay? Hold tight. All right, bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for seeing us.
Marshall in the middle.